Y'all are good to go.
All right. Ding.
I've done that.
There was a time shaking hands was a welcoming sign, but now a hug could be passing a nasty bug. We must embrace the concept of staying in place, not playing it safe. Could be such a blunder. I'd rather be 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. I'd rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. Take my advice. Friends, don't let friends go risking their lives. Don't get too close. I'd hate to give you a lethal dose. Just smile and wave and think of the people we'll save from early graves and eternal slumber. I'd rather be 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. I'd rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. From a distance, we all can reach out and touch someone. Here's the difference. Let's do it smart, not do it dumb, dumb, dumb. Let's learn the art of being together while being apart. Meet face to face. Only do it in cyberspace. It's strange, it's true, but it beats going to the ICU. It's easy to do. You've got my number, and I'd rather be 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. I'd rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. I'd rather be 6 feet apart. Step away from the shopping cart. Rather be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Hill Country. My name is June Hartley and I'll be the service associate today. We would like to welcome everybody, members, friends. If there are any visitors, they are always especially welcomed. And we will have the opening words are, it's a combination of two of the opening words, of the opening word segments. How rare it is, how lovely, this fellowship of those who meet together. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. The gathering song will be a sing-along. You will be muted, but please join in with Steve with the words as they appear on the screen. Come sing a song with me.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream with me. Share a rose with me. Share a rose with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
We have time for announcements now. If you have any, just indicate by raising your hand or Linda.
I talked about this earlier, but we are a sponsor of the Upper Guadalupe River Authority River Cleanup. Now, usually that happens with a big festive event, all people together in one day. But to avoid that, they have put out alternate plans, and some of you have expressed interest. The alternate plans are, you go to their website, you register now, you say you're with our church, and then you choose a day to do the cleanup, and they have suggested sites, and they have materials as well that they will hand out. You do the cleanup between now and the end of October on any day that you, now 2 or 3 of you can do it together if you're comfortable with that, or couples can do it, or you can go do it by yourself. But we are a sponsor. Our name will be on the free t-shirt you get. So think about it. I have sent, if you are interested in doing this and have not received the information I sent out, raise your hand. Okay, Pat, I don't think I sent it to you. Okay, thank you.
And Brian and Jan.
Oh, Brian.
Second. Sorry. Stuff on that. There we go. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't recall seeing anything either. So if you resend it, please include us.
Is that everybody?
Well, I'd just like to say, if people want to do it in a group of 3 or 4 and maintain distance, it's a little bit more fun.
Or if people want to do, some people want to do it and the other people want to provide drinks and kind of thing, it would work out well. And you can social distance at a picnic. Carolyn has proved that several times.
Yes. Carol can be our church photographer. She uses that river trail to do that. Okay, is that all the announcements? Okay. I'd like to read our mission statement. We journey together, guided by UU values to seek, nourish, and serve our loving church family, our community, and our world. And I would like to welcome back to our virtual pulpit Steve Brooks, who is a singer, songwriter, speaker, and a world-class punster. In addition, he is an active member of the Wildflower Church in Austin, the Wildflower UU Church in Austin. So we are always delighted to have Steve, and we'll probably be seeing him more than usual this year, which will be great. Okay, the chalice lighting, I think. Yep, chalice lighting. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. And the affirmation will be shown on your screen. Please join me in repeating this. The doctrine of this church is love. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. And this is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, as we strive to have all souls grow into harmony with the divine. Thank you. But even in these times of pandemic, expenses of the church continue, and your contributions are appreciated more than ever. Well, although PayPal isn't an option now, checks are always accepted. Thank you. And Steve? Okay.
Sorry, Steve, I had you muted.
I'd like to say a couple of words about this offertory song because it was written by a friend of mine who's no longer with us. Ben Bachner is his name, and he was a singer-songwriter who bounced back and forth between Austin and Eugene, Oregon for many years. This song was inspired by a Native American blessing that he ran into somewhere along the way. He wrote the song originally 10 years ago while the Occupy protests were going on, and it just seems at least as relevant today as it was when he wrote it. And it's got a chorus. It's very easy to join in and sing along while you're muted. The words are already on their way, already on their way. Thanks for unknown blessings, already on their way. And my sweetie, Debbie, is going to join me on Native American flute and vocals for this song. It's called Unknown Blessings. Oh, the stars above, they twinkle. Wait a minute. Sorry. There, let's try that again. Stars above, they twinkle. You know they put on quite a show. Spark, you know the light that meets our eyes today left 1,000,000 years ago. It tells us quite a story and strands of DNA. Same spark that birthed the universe is born in us today. Here's the chorus. And they're already on their way. Already on their way. Thanks for unknown blessings. Already on their way. Already on their way. Already on their way. Thanks for unknown blessings. Already on their way. Now this world is a funhouse mirror. Sometimes you feel just like a clown. Sometimes everything's distorted, a little upside down. And the truth, it just gets twisted like a rope that's torn and frayed. Till you feel like you can't go on no more.
it just might slip away. But they're already on their way, already on their way. Thanks for unknown blessings, already on their way, already on their way, already on their way. Thanks for unknown blessings, already on their way. Now history is a spiral. Sometimes it's hard to see through the smoke and the blood and the tear gas. There's a path of victory. It's a twisted road we walk on, strung with miracles along the way. Like raindrops to the ocean, we'll make it there someday. And we're already on our way, already on our way. Thanks for unknown blessings, already on our way, already on their way, already on their way. Thanks for unknown blessings, already on their way. Give thanks for unknown blessings, already on their way. And now, will you all please join me in Unison Reading? The words are about to appear on your screen. Unison Reading number 698. Please read together with me. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Now I have another song that I wrote almost 20 years ago. It was in the days after 9/11. Seems like a long, long time ago now. Well, it is a long, long time ago. I knew a couple of people who lost loved ones when the Twin Towers went down, and I tried to imagine myself in their shoes like the morning after, trying to make sense of it all and follow the feelings that were coming. And it seems like an appropriate song for what we're going through right now as well. It's called Normal No More. When the morning still breaks and you lay there awake with the biscuits and bacon, the smell through the door, the coffee still strong, and there's dew on the lawn, but you know all along you'll be normal no more. And you know you can cope with the smell of the smoke. It's the memory of hope that's so hard to endure, when it's too much to feel, too soon to be healed, and what used to be real can't be normal no more. Normal no more. Normal the start of the war. And the words can't explain, 'cause the words ain't the same when they're normal no more. And there may come a time when you lie 'neath the vine with a bottle of wine and your feet off the floor, when there's nothing to trust but the dust in the dust and the sun coming up on what's normal no more. Normal no more. Normal no more. It all looked so different just a moment before. What you used to call peace was the start of the war. And the words can't explain, 'cause the words ain't the same when they're normal no more. But life will go on while you find your way home to what's normal no more. A deadly microbe jumps from animals to humans. Authorities run through every stage of denial before they lock down an entire city. Medical supplies are short, hospitals are overloaded, and death rates skyrocket. Victims die alone, while the living ail from anxiety and isolation. If this description sounds like it's ripped from the headlines of today's newspaper, think again. It's the city of Oran in Algeria. Oran is a real city, but in the 1948 novel The Plague by the French writer and philosopher Albert Camus, it suffers a fictional outbreak of bubonic plague. 7 decades later, we're living in the middle of an actual plague, but it feels as though we've been dropped into a piece of fiction. We don't know the ending. What we do know is that everything we've ever counted on is suddenly uncertain. We're not sure how we will protect our health or pay our bills. Our ultimate uncertainties are how long we will be marooned in this malignant land of Oz, and whether there will be a normal to return to. We're fighting a biological virus, but as I check my own emotional temperature, I notice that I'm fighting a spiritual one as well. Its symptoms include fear, anger, and despair. It's highly contagious, and unlike the organism, it does not require physical contact. When I'm talking with friends these days, we chat about how to strengthen our spiritual immune systems. For some, it's prayer or meditation. For others, it's walking or baking bread. It can be artistic expression like painting pictures or playing music. One way that I've been doing it lately is by revisiting some classic works of literature. I'd like to believe that our current predicament is something out of the ordinary. Books remind me that it's not. As Camus puts it, there have been as many plagues as wars in history. Yet always plagues and wars take people equally by surprise. Literature helps me to understand my situation, not just in my mind, but in my imagination. A history book tells me what happened, but a novel tells me how it felt. It opens a sort of time tunnel, if you will, a sort of Zoom meeting. I converse with others from other eras about the physical challenges and the ethical dilemmas that we share. They can teach me how they coped
Even more important, they can show me how they made sense of it all. To me, one of the strongest antidotes to a spiritual virus is the activity of seeking meaning. Viktor Frankl, a psychotherapist and a former prisoner of Auschwitz, maintained that a common trait of survivors was the ability to hold on to a higher purpose. He wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." He summed it up, the meaning of life is to give life meaning. This morning, I would like to talk about two great works of imagination that do just that. They explore the meaning of sudden and unexpected suffering and grief. They're separated by at least 2,500 years, but they both seem to be part of the same conversation. They are the plague and the Old Testament tale, the book of Job. I'll start with the older of the two books. It is one that has fascinated me for decades. It's partly for its vivid poetry. It's also because it seems remarkably modern, a portrait of a fragile human being who is confronting an uncaring universe. But it debates an eternal question. Why do bad things happen to good people? The good person is Job. He is the wealthiest man in the land of Uz. He is also God-fearing to the point of obsessive-compulsive. When his kids throw a party, he sacrifices a beast to atone for their sins. Ironically, his piety is what gets him into trouble. One day, God and Satan are talking. Back in the days when heaven is young and Satan is still one of the angels, God starts bragging about his servant Job. And Satan, playing the part of the troll, plants a seed of doubt. Take away Job's wealth, his children, and his health, and he will begin to curse his maker. God takes up the wager. He allows Satan to inflict every kind of torment on the hapless Job. Whirlwinds, earthquakes, leprosy, you name it. So, what does this peculiar prologue tell me, besides the notion that God can't be trusted? In ancient Hebrew, the word Satan means adversary. When sudden misfortune strikes, it often feels to me like an adversary. Life is going along swimmingly. Then, out of the blue, my sense of security is shattered. It might be an accident, a layoff, a diagnosis, or a death. It could be a pandemic. Whatever the details, it's so far outside of my everyday experience that until it happens to me, I don't know how I will react. As for Job, he endures the first attacks of the adversary with surprising poise. Eventually, however, he cracks. Is there anyone in the year 2020 who has not felt these words of his? My sighing comes in place of my food, and my groanings flow forth like water. I have no ease. I have no quietness. I cannot rest. As Job is bemoaning his bad luck, three so-called friends arrive. They've come to comfort him, but instead they end up lecturing him. God must be punishing him for something he's done. Whatever it was, he needs to figure it out and repent. The more that they badger him, however, the more that Job maintains his innocence. He finally issues a challenge to God. Please explain why he's guilty, because he hasn't got a clue. As I read the speeches in the story, it seems to me that both Job and his accusers are getting it wrong. They all believe in a simplistic moral universe, one in which good deeds get rewarded and bad deeds get punished. In the real world, that's As we all know, it doesn't always work out that way. Some days, I feel just like Job, a powerless pawn in somebody's cosmic game. At last, a young man speaks up. He guesses what's really going on. Job is not being punished. Job is being tested. What is Job really made of? It's easy to do good when prosperity is smiling on him. But how will he behave when there's no hope of reward? It's a question that resonates with me here in what I call the coronapocalypse. The adversary seems to be testing us right now on many levels. As an individual, it tests my responsibility and common sense. As a community, it asks what limits we will accept for our common good. As a nation, it questions whether our democracy still works. It's with these questions that our second book might help us. For now, let's leave Job in his troubles and let's swing across the Mediterranean from the land of Uz to the city of Oran. The plague is about how people act when they're put to the test. There's nothing special or heroic about the citizens of Oran. They could be any of us. Camus writes, "Its ordinariness is what strikes one first about the town." Their first reaction when rats start dying in the streets is to cling to their sense of the ordinary. They even avoid naming the disease, well, like the plague. The Black Death was a relic of the Middle Ages. It couldn't possibly happen here in our modern world. The second stage sets in once the entire city is quarantined. Now, its citizens feel like exiles in their own land. They have to figure out new rules for how to navigate a new and bewildering world. As Camus describes it, all these people found themselves, without the least warning, hopelessly cut off. They had been sentenced for an unknown crime to an indeterminate period of punishment. Ironically, what unites them is their isolation. Camus explains the ache of separation from those one loves suddenly became a feeling in which all shared alike. Although everyone faces the same threat, they deal with it in very different ways. Some flout the risks of exposure and party the nights away. Some try to escape past the sentries on the city walls. Those who can afford it hoard food and supplies, while profiteers make fortunes selling them those food and supplies. Sound familiar? Then there are the heroes of Camus' story. They're also familiar. They're doctors and nurses. There are also civilian volunteers who do basic public health work like sanitation. From a medical point of view, their work is largely futile. They watch helplessly as patient after patient succumbs in gruesome ways. But they're also fighting a spiritual illness, and in that struggle, they find meaning. Says one doctor, "There's no question of heroism in all this. The only means of righting a plague is common decency." Someone asks him, "What do you mean by common decency?" He replies, "I don't know what it means for other people, but in my case, I know that it consists in doing my job." For Camus' original readers, the plague had still another dimension, political. They recognized it as a metaphor for fascism. He wrote much of the novel during the Nazi occupation of France, while he was risking his life in the resistance. Despite the liberation of France, he warns his compatriots that victory can never be permanent. The urge to political violence lies latent in human societies and human hearts. we can never let down our guard any more than we can let down our personal hygiene. It's a timely message for our present moment in which a biological virus is intertwined with a political one. The same citizens who are refusing to wear masks are often the ones who cling to white privilege and who are supporting a would-be dictator. They insist on a perverse right to infect the rest of us. Says one central character in the plague, each of us has the plague within us. No one on earth is free from it. But having the plague, he adds, carries a moral duty to resist it. He says, on this earth, there are pestilences and there are victims. And it's up to us, so far as possible, not to join forces with the pestilences. One of the few things that's certain about a biological plague is that it won't last forever. Eventually, we'll develop vaccines or treatments. In the worst case scenario, the pathogen will simply run out of new hosts. With a spiritual plague, however, the ending may not be so clear-cut. In both of our stories, the world recovers, but not all of the characters do. The book of Job pretends to have a happy ending. God makes it all up to Job by blessing him with twice the wealth he had before. But the price that God demands is a steep one, utter humiliation. He arrives on the scene in the form of a tornado. He rages at a mere mortal for daring to question him. The Creator is not bound by the same rules that he sets for his creations. Job does what most of us would do when we're completely outgunned. He humbles himself in the dust. The lesson he draws is that of a trauma survivor. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. Back in Oran, after 9 months of quarantine, deaths declined as abruptly as they had shot up. At last, the gates of the city are thrown open. In echoes of liberated France, people pour into the streets. Here, in the year 2020, we are fervently looking forward to such a moment, although it might not arrive as swiftly as in Oran. One day, we'll have the confidence to go out for something as simple as a restaurant meal or a grocery trip. One day, we'll listen to live music again. One day, I'll get to play live music again. Or will we? For some in Oran, the plague will never go away. Camus writes, he knew what those jubilant crowds did not know but could have learned from books, that the plague bacillus never dies or disappears for good, that it bides its time in bedrooms, cellars, trunks, and bookshelves, and that perhaps the day would come when, for the bane and the enlightening of men, it would rouse up its rats again and send them forth to die in a happy city. Those of us who are baby boomers may have noticed a similar shadow over our parents and our grandparents. Many who came of age in the Great Depression were forever anxious, trusting that bad times were just around the corner. Those who came home from the Second World War launched an astonishing burst of economic activity, but many of them were haunted by demons of whom they always refused to speak. In time, it will be our turn. We long to be normal again. But neither do we want to forget the lessons of the plague, that health is a temporary condition, that one of the greatest human luxuries is the luxury of making plans. Which is why, at this moment, in the midst of the whirlwind, might be a perfect time to seek meanings that can help us out after the whirlwind has blown away. I can remind myself that I am like Job. As old meanings get swept away, I can create newer and wiser ones. I can practice the spiritual balancing acts that I'll be needing after the play. I can make plans for the future. Well, I try not to be attached to when I can carry them out. I can cultivate vigilance for the long haul, knowing that although we are all weary of the plague is not weary of us. Our world will stay a perilous place for many months to come. I can find new ways to connect with my friends and new avenues to perform my work. Well, I am grieving old avenues that may be closed for good. I can strive to show compassion to others and to myself, knowing that we are all stretched out and stressed out beyond our limits. Those are some of my meanings. We each have our own meanings to seek right now. The very act of seeking them, I want to suggest, helps us to inoculate against the spiritual virus. By defiantly constructing meaning at a time when the days seem meaningless, I give myself hope that ultimately I will outlast it. In a pandemic, medicine might defeat a microbe. It's hope that's the ultimate remedy. Not hope that's based on wishful thinking, but hope that is based on attention and thoughtful reflection. So concludes Camus. It could be said, he writes, that once the faintest stirring of hope became possible, the dominion of the plague was ended. And now, I would invite everyone to join me in singing hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. The words will be up on the screen, and if you're not familiar with this hymn, it's in the Teal hymnal. It's one that's very easy to pick up.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me,
comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. And now it's time for that part of the services in Kerrville that I especially enjoy, that part of the service when I get to feel like Job, and I get to see how I can be humbled in the dust. I am open to questions and comments and looking forward to the dialogue.
During, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, during your sermon, Steve, I was reminded of something that a friend of my mother's used to say. A lot fewer words than you used, but I think it may get a lot of what you meant was plan but don't pack.
Mm.
And I like that, and try to use that in my life. I'm still making plans. I'm not, stopping doing that during this pandemic.
I might steal that for the next version of my sermon, June.
You are more than welcome. I would be
Yeah,
delighted.
I like that.
And
Who else has?
okay, oh, Brian, 1 second here. There you are. Go ahead.
Are we live?
Yes.
One thing that passed through my mind as you were talking about common decency is how that is become disparaged as political correctness. And it's infuriating that people can't recognize that all that is being considerate of others and their needs or concerns. So that's my 2 cents.
Different they are from you and me.
Anybody else?
Raise your hands.
Carolyn, 1 second. Let me get you there. You should have a thing to unmute now.
Very, very interesting that you referred to Job. So many times in the last 4 months, so many people in different venues, different things have referred to Job. He is kind of the man of the moment, actually. It's really interesting. A lot of people feel like Job or his wife.
I'll mention the book of Job. One of the reasons it's a fascinating book to me is that it contradicts pretty much the entire rest of the Old Testament. Most of the Old Testament is built around the notion that if you do right by Yahweh, Yahweh will do right by you. And if you don't do right by Yahweh, then watch out. In the book of Job, however, Job does everything right, but Yahweh still allows the adversary to kick the crap out of him. So it's a very subversive book in that way.
Okay. Oh, Meredith, 1 second. Here you go. Go ahead.
Yes, Steve, you were mentioning the political part of this, and I spoke with my sister yesterday who lives in the Portland area, in Portland, Oregon area, where I'm originally from. And the press, the media is not exaggerating. The media is not talking about people feeling like they're being kidnapped, etc., just to the extreme. This is how people in Portland feel. They feel like there are people, their neighbors and friends who are literally being kidnapped by people who are not identified. Now, we're told that they are Homeland Security or people Homeland Security are using. Of course, the rest of us have never been informed that Homeland Security has a private army. But nevertheless, it is a very frightening thing, and they feel like this is happening to them. This is happening to them to literally try this out, see how this works, so that it can happen to the rest of us. And I just thought that I would mention this because this is one more thing that we've never seen in our country before. As far as I know, not just my lifetime, which has been pretty long, but before that. And the people in Portland are frightened, but they understand that this was told by our president that he would take Portland if they didn't do things the way he wished. And so we will have to wait and see what happens with this particular situation.
Thank you for bringing it up, Meredith. I'll tell you, we were having pretty much the same conversation last night, and I'm keeping a close eye on things in Austin. This could easily be one of the blue cities where they start trying to snatch people off the streets. One observation I would add to that is that ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is part of Homeland Security, and here in Austin, as well as many other cities around the country, they have already been snatching people off the streets for at least the last couple of years. Mostly people with Latino names and people who are suspected of being here illegally. But we've seen a phenomenon way too many times as someone leaves for work, someone leaves for school, and 24 hours later, they're in a foreign country and their family is broken. So this is not just started this week. I think what we're seeing this week is it's starting to be expanded to middle-class white people.
All right, Stephanie, 1 second. Let me find you there.
Hi, Steve. Thank you. And hi, everybody. Thank you for that. I really needed that today. I just wanted to mention in terms of literature, we just watched, I guess it was last week, The Plot Against America. And I haven't read the book yet, but if you guys haven't seen it, it's HBO, I think.
Yeah.
Great series, and it really addresses a lot of what you talked about, and what Camus talks about, in terms of sort of that plague always being there, within us, and what do we do? Anyway, it's very apropos for the times, and it's really great. It's really well done. So something to think about if you're looking for something else to watch during this pandemic. Depressing, but also not depressing. So.
The Plot Against America is a novel by Philip Roth.
Yeah.
And about fascism taking over our country.
It's like an alternative history. It's if Lindbergh won, he ran for president, and it's as if he won, and Roosevelt didn't. So, yeah.
All right.
Patience, we're having a lively discussion here.
Sorry, Steve. I think some of what you said just cut out there.
Anyone waving their hand?
I think that's everybody.
I shall proceed to the benediction. And then we can proceed to the virtual happy hour, or whatever y'all call it there. As we leave this our sacred spaces, and we return to a world that's beset by plague, let us remember that we are not alone. Through the ages, plagues have been part of the interdependent web of the human condition. They connect us with people who have come before and with people who will come after. Let us learn from the ways in which they survived and the meanings they made, that we may make our own meanings. In that way, may we not only survive, but thrive in the new world that's coming, the new world we will help to create after the plague.
All right.